Okay, so we're going to start. Welcome, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank each one of you for coming and making it to the webinar. And before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Yumna Sami. I'm the Business Development Executive at Pegasus Operational Excellence Solutions. And introducing with me presenters in the webinar, Lauren and Ryan from Periscope Data. So first, I'd like to introduce the purpose of this webinar. Basically, is to introduce Periscope Data in Egypt and show you a demo of the features and functionalities to determine if Periscope is the right tool for your needs, and also showing you Pegasus's professional services and how it can help your business. So the agenda is to start with the Pegasus Operational Excellence introduction, which will be for around 10 minutes. Then Periscope Data's story for another 10 minutes, followed by the demo, and then a use case discussion. And then we'll be answering your questions and discussing the next steps with all of you. The outcome of this webinar is to either you're going to decide that there are next steps that we can enable your business to go further, or there aren't. So basically, you'll be able to decide and see for yourself if our services will be of benefit for you. So at Pegasus, we believe that it's no longer business as usual. Hence, our services targeting operational excellence is to analyze in order to optimize the process through our business consultation and implementation, which results in demand increase in cost saving, in digitization, integration, data analytics, and digital transformation, in performance and process optimization, and to finally reach operational excellence. And with our experienced team, we bridge the gap between the technical and field know-how and the analytics and digitization enablers. Our methodology is to first define the process flow, and hence identify the key performance indicators that will help us measure and analyze the process in order to improve and optimize it. And finally, create standardized systems and benchmarks to control and sustain your system. As being said by top IT companies like IBM and Senior VP of Gartner, that information and data is the oil of the 21st century, and analytics is the combustion engine. Because if you have the data without the tools that would make you analyze and enable you to use this data, then it's basically useless. So in order to gather the data, you must develop means to measure, collect, and sort it. And to use the data, you need the tools like Periscope to analyze and showcase. If you don't measure, you can't manage. Sorry, let me just minimize that. If you don't measure, then you can't manage, you can't control, you can't improve, hence you lose money. Any company has data from different sources like ERP, CRM, social media, websites, SQL or cloud, or any tracking device. And when you're trying to connect them all and interconnect them with this output to this input and so on, it looks something like this mess that we call the enterprise application spaghetti. And if you're able to connect them all, trying to access the information will be extremely difficult and confusing. So that's where we jump in with our services and facilities. So for us to access information here, it will be difficult. Hence, we introduced the ESB, which is the Enterprise Service Bus, which allows all data sources, like the ERP, CRM, and so on, to be accessed in a much easier way. So all the data gets dumped into it, and then we access it using the ETL or ELT. This is the extract, transform, and load method. So it goes through first data validation, and then it gets cleaned up in the data cleaning. Then we transform the data and aggregate it, and then load it into the output. So once it's loaded to the data warehouse, that allows for data centralization that offers a single source of truth. Now that we got the data all in one place, data analytical tools are used in order to analyze, to get out the chart information, statistics report, and so on, and even predictive analysis. So these softwares are like Periscope 2 and other software. So the BI result objective is to enable you to have a better efficiency and effectiveness, to see the cause and effect, to witness the impact of different factors affecting the business, and so on. Another important objective is that it allows you to have faster responses, as it can connect to the real-time data and send notifications once preset conditions occur. So it's really helpful in fast businesses. So linking back to our methodology, we use this in order to measure, analyze, and improve the company's process, and have one interactive scorecard and dashboard that shows all the data effectively, instead of hundreds of reports that you will not be able to read on a daily basis. These dashboards are like the ones that you can see. It can be accessed from your phone, tablet, or browser. It can be tailored for your company and your company's KPIs. The traditional way of dealing with data won't get you far. That's why we offer the best and easiest way to make use of the data fast. Thank you, and I'll now leave you with Lauren and Ryan to explain more about Periscope Data.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Yamna. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Great. Now that we've completed the first part of our webinar, I wanted to focus our remaining time on a quick presentation about Periscope, and then jump into a demo, and then again, leave some time for some questions. So as you know, our world today is defined by our creation of data, what we do with it and how we process it. And speaking of processing data, business intelligence has been a product category since the 1980s. By the early 2000s, we had a drag and drop query interface that enables anyone in a query to query for simple data sets. And that is no longer enough for today's data. So around 2014, compute and storage became cheap enough that companies started creating and storing lots more data, leading to an explosion of information. At the same time, the market has become increasingly more competitive, as I'm sure many of you know. According to research firm Innosay, an average lifetime of a company about 30 years ago, or I guess 50 years ago now, in the 1960s, was about 30 years. Today, the average lifetime is about 20 years, and it's projected that in the next 10 years, half of S&P's 500 will no longer be around. So according to Keynote Research Studies, they see that the lasting companies and the winners are the ones who use their data most effectively. The common thread between these types of companies is that they don't rely on traditional BI tools. So to answer these questions that they're trying to solve. And that's because traditional BI tools can't analyze these huge amounts of information that are generated today. This data also can't be easily modeled, and each new type of data is unique, requiring unique skills to analyze it. Users simply can't drag and drop this information anymore into traditional BI tools. So instead, these winning companies have data professionals using a modern BI tool to tackle big, complex data sets, answering their hardest questions quickly, and ultimately making better decisions and transforming their businesses. So as a quick example, I would like to introduce you to Patrick. He's a director of data science and analytics team at Flexport, which is a greater than $1 billion company that's disrupting the freight forwarding industry. So Patrick's job is to figure out answers to critical business questions. When there was a port strike in China a couple years ago, Flexport needed to figure out how to reroute their ships around the world so that billions of dollars worth of goods would arrive on time. They also needed to figure out if going forward, this would affect their demand, their logistics, their revenue. This question had never been asked before, or asked but never answered, and their data wasn't modeled for this scenario. But using Periscope, Patrick and two of his other analysts were able to find these answers quickly and presented a solution to their executive team. So again, the winning companies have data analysts making a modern BI tool to answer their questions and tackle big, complex data sets. So ultimately, they make better decisions, transform their businesses using Periscope, which is a modern BI solution built for data teams. Our mission is to empower data professionals to create more business value than any other BI tool. How? By being the fastest, most powerful, and most flexible analytics platform out there. So going into detail on those three. With Periscope, you don't have to wait for days to answer your questions. In fact, our customers have even told us that using Periscope, they're up and running in less than an hour. Metric definitions and business logic can be centralized and joined with their new data for fast and accurate insights. You can also easily join multiple data sets to build a single source of truth across all of your data sources. So unlike other BI tools, you don't have to learn any new proprietary language or do any upfront modeling if you don't need to, which makes Periscope great not just for reporting, but also for ad hoc analysis. We offer more than just pretty charts. Periscope allows data analysts to get the advanced features that they need, including SQL, Python, and R editors, and an integration with the most innovative tools in warehouses, as Yamina was just explaining. Periscope provides highly efficient analytics workflows, thereby allowing users to get more done in a fraction of the time that they would have used with other BI reporting tools. Additionally, this allows for advanced analytics and data prepping for machine learning models as well. So Periscope is flexible for every team. We empower everyone in your business to make data-driven decisions with easy-to-use drag and drop features today and advanced features as you continue to grow. So regardless of where you are in your data journey, whether you're a very small startup or a huge corporation, whether this is your first BI solution or you're already building these machine learning models, we partner with you to meet your current and future analytics needs. So unlike disposable BI, Periscope is not a solution that you will outgrow. I wanted to quickly highlight as well some examples of teams that have been using Periscope. So for example, Ramin is a data scientist at Tubi and uses Periscope for business tracking, for business KPI tracking, optimizing his data warehouse, and features for machine learning models. Additionally, Eddie, the SVP of Business at Oscar Health, uses Periscope to track business operational metrics, understand sales and marketing, conversion rates, and of course, forecast and manage workflow. So in the end, your success is ours. We'll be there every step of the way. As you get onboarded, we have a variety of training options that get you started fast. You have the option to have additional support through Pegasus. Once you're up and running, you will have a designated customer success manager to partner with you and your company's data strategy needs. We also have an award-winning support team that will help you and your team answer any questions that you may have, from simple SQL questions to specific questions about the platform. Since 2014, we've been helping over 1,000 customers around the world finding answers to their data and outperform their competition. And as a quick recap, I wanted to show you how we shared how Periscope can help companies answer more complex questions by being the fastest, most powerful, most flexible analytic solution. And we also shared how teams similar to all of yours are leveraging Periscope to create more business value. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Ryan Waters, our sales engineering manager, to show a demo of Periscope software.
Okay, hey everyone, this is Ryan. I'm going to share my screen. Actually, I think I need permission to share, Lauren.
Let me transfer it to your
screen share.
Yep. You have it now?
There we go. Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Cool. So I'm going to show you just a real quick look at Periscope. I'm going to try to show both sides of the coin here with how an end user would interact with Periscope, as well as how you would go about actually creating and writing queries and making these visualizations. There's a lot of depth to this product, so not enough time to get into the weeds on everything, but here's a quick look at a couple workflows. So what we're looking at right now is a default dashboard. Welcome to Periscope. This is actually kind of a look at how we use Periscope internally. So a user will log in and they'll look at this dashboard, and this will give them a couple options to decide which path they're going to take. So which team do they work on? There's a couple high-level matrix, and we can start to get a sense of how this tool is starting to work. So an exec member can come in and say, let's see the current state of Periscope. And this is going to give them a dashboard that is very reusable and is connected to the data live. Each widget here is connected to different data sources. So each visualization you see can represent a separate query or a separate data source, or it can represent blended data in cross-database joins, however you want to set up the data connection with Periscope, and how you want to set up the Periscope cache if you need to blend some of those data sources. And now we're getting a quick look at all these different metrics and allowing the end user to get a quick snapshot of the day. As we start to look at other departments in a more specific view, let's say we're on the marketing team, we can go to this marketing channel team dashboard and start to see how filters work. Again, high-level matrix of dashboards and tiles. As we scroll through, we can see the different visualization types. This is going to give us a sense of what's converting most and how these different marketing channels are working. We open up the filter bar, and the filters are where your end user is going to get quite a lot of functionality. Filters themselves, let's say we want to look at a different marketing channel here. As I apply that filter, we're going to be actually rerunning these queries with those selections injected into the SQL itself. And I can show how that works in just a second. But what's important to know here is that the end user, they have access to as many filters as you want them to see, and the filters themselves can be very customizable. So they can be queries in themselves, making each one of these filters dynamic. So as you add new things to your data, they will just be available to the end user. And they will also allow you to filter on anything in your data. Because each thing that you see here is powered by SQL, your end users are going to be given the most curated look of the data, but also the most flexibility to ask their own questions without even having to resort to building reports themselves. So filtering is pretty unique in our tool because it actually interacts with the SQL itself as you set it up. And that is how you're going to allow for actual asking of questions from the end user without them having to jump into like a drag and drop interface or write their own SQL. Let me jump to another dashboard that's going to give us a look at how that all works. The workflow for your typical analyst in this tool, and I'm going to take this monthly active users dashboard as an example. If we hit the edit chart button here, we can start to see kind of the focal point of this tool. So the focal point is the SQL editor. Our tool is a SQL first tool, really designed with the analyst in mind. The idea here is that you can rapidly prototype. You can instantly ask questions. You can do a lot of ad hoc analysis by way of the SQL editor, and you're not going to have our tool kind of tell you how to do things. When you open up a new chart, you'll have a blank IDE here in the SQL editor. You have the ability to query whichever database you have connected, and you'll see all the schemas and tables and fields on your left-hand side in the schema browser. So as you're writing your query, you'll know what you're working with, and you can easily search through all that and find the relationships across these different tables and fields very quickly. So as you're writing your query, you will have the ability to see the output from your query. You'll also see some statistics around the data itself. So you can get a quick data profile, understanding of what is in this data. So you can continue to find those relationships, maybe do more joins, however you want to set up your query. And you can also implement filtering, which is what we saw earlier. Just a quick look at how that's actually working. You know, in this where clause, the only time you're going to see something that doesn't look like standard SQL, because we don't have a proprietary language, is when we implement filters. So this is how we map a column name, platform in this case, to the name of a filter, which is device in this case. And in the raw query tab, we can see that selections that are made at the dashboard level in those filters are just being directly injected into where those placeholders are. So that's a quick look at how you apply filters and how easy it is to set those up. Filters are global. They can be used on as many queries or as few queries as you like, or as many dashboards as you like. Once you run your query, you will have the ability to then alter the appearance and decide on what visualization makes the most sense. So we have a list of native libraries here, and that will give you a lot of different options for settings and how you want to communicate more effectively to your end users. So we can do more tooltips, more information displayed on hover, different color themes, how you want to format the values, should there be an additional axes, or the legend should be, all that kind of thing. Additionally, you could also output the data itself by way of a live CSV link. So we can expose a public CSV URL that will actually give you access to the data itself, that will also refresh on a schedule with this query. All of the queries that we're showing you right now can be managed by our dashboard refresh management tool, which will allow you to schedule how often the dashboards you see here are refreshed, and also limit the amount of refreshing that your end users can do. So if your data is only going to be fresh, the freshest it'll be will be every 4 hours, we can set these dashboards up to refresh on that rate and disable refresh, so you can limit the amount of load on your source databases. We do have a modeling layer that again is SQL based. So if we open up this views tab here, which is just below the dashboards tab, and that's where you'll be able to navigate through all the different dashboards that are permissioned to you. Views is just below that, and that's where you're going to look at actually creating little data marts and writing some SQL that will allow you to manipulate and model the data within Periscope. So if you have already gone through some of the steps that were outlined earlier in the decks before this, and you have your data marts set up, we can connect directly to those and use those immediately. You can also start to join some of those and create more data marts within Periscope. Here in this view layer, this is very similar to the last screen where we were creating a chart, except this time we're not doing any visualization options. We're just joining tables and cleaning that data up, and making this as another data mart that the visualization queries that we see here can pull from. And that is also where we can decide if we want to expose data sets to our drag and drop type users. So let me go back to the welcome dashboard here. If you do have some end users where they want to build their own reports, but they're not SQL savvy, we can expose our drag and drop and new exploration button here. When I open this up, this user can be permissioned to only see the data sets that you publish for them, as they won't be as familiar with the underlying SQL tables. So when they see will be this UI here, and they'll have a list of data sets that you have published for them so that you know that they're working with accurate data, which will maintain data integrity across the organization. This drag and drop is meant to be very straightforward. anyone should be able to use it pretty quickly. They start by creating or selecting a chart type, and then they just start making some selections. So if we put some time series data on the X, and let's put price on the Y, very quickly, we're constructing SQL on the back end and running that. So this is true data exploration. They are looking at this data in a very ad hoc manner. And they are able to do a lot of things with drop downs as well. So we can aggregate this very quickly by month. We can add an average, we can count, we can sum. We can even go more, further with that with calculated fields. There we go. Calculated field wizard will walk you through how to write that formula and create a calculated field as well. So this should enable some of your business analysts that are able to do this type of report building, but also not have them get too bogged down in a very in a complicated drag and drop interface. I know one of the things Lauren touched on in her slides was the support that you get with our tool. That is baked right into the product. This chat widget here goes straight to our solutions engineers. These are a part of both the trial and the customer experience. So definitely use the solutions engineers to ask questions around SQL or around the tool itself. They're product experts, SQL experts. So that's a lot of the end user functionality as well as some of the SQL workflow. There's an additional layer to this using both Python and R. Let me open up another example. Let's go back to the marketing channel here. So let's take a look at this word cloud, for example. When I open this word cloud up, we'll see the Python workflow. So the way you're going to apply a deeper analysis of your data or just allow for a more variation in visualizations is through our Python and R editors. They'll be available to you just below the SQL editor if you elect to use them. So first you'll run your query and that will get your data together. And what happens next when you open up the Python or R editor below, you make the choice at the time of chart creation, is the data from the above query here will just be available to you in the Python or R editor as a data frame. So I immediately have this data frame already labeled DF. In the Python context, it's a pandas data frame. I immediately have that to work with. I can just focus on writing my code. And in this case, I'm really just using Python just to create a word cloud because that's a unique chart. But we can do a lot of different things with the libraries here, everything from machine learning to text analysis. And there's a full list of libraries that are available to you to work with there. So these workflows are used for data teams that sometimes prefer Python over SQL, or there are some more complex regression analysis that are done very easily in Python or R, or just to harness the hundreds more chart types that come with those libraries. And this layer can also be applied to that view layer that we were looking at earlier. So when I go ahead and open up another view, we can see just below there is the Python editor involved as well. So again, if I wanted to take this view that I've created using SQL and do a deeper analysis or model it another way, when I hit the plus sign on the Python editor, I'm going to have all the data from this view available to me as a data frame, and I'm ready to work with it. Cool. So I think Lauren wanted to leave a bit of time for questions at the end. So maybe I'll turn it back over.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Ryan, for showing the demo. I wanted to know if anyone had any questions. I believe Yamna's been monitoring the chat. If you do have any, feel free to chat them over. We can answer those as well. Perfect. I believe one question came in that asked if we can connect to tools that are already being used, such as SAP and Oracle?
We can connect to Oracle depending on the database. We don't have a connector to SAP at this time.
Perfect. There was another question asking if we integrate with ERP next.
No native connection for that, but there may be some ETL vendors that can help get that into a relational database like Redshift or Postgres or something that we do have a native connection with.
Perfect. And then another one, can we connect with on-premise information as well as the cloud?
So our tool is a cloud-based tool. We can connect to on-prem databases as long as they are exposed to our IPs. And you can also connect via SSH. But we are a cloud-based tool.
I'd like to also answer part of the question. As Pegasus, we can help with the connection from SAP and Oracle to Periscope because we're able to transform the data into another form that Periscope's software can read it. So we can take care of that for you.
Excellent. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Great. Well, thank you so much to everyone. If you do have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Pegasus. You all signed up through the registration link that Yamna sent out. So any other questions you may have in the future, or if you're interested in having a free trial of Periscope, we're more than happy to send that your way. Thank you for all of your time, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.